quick overview, background on the nervous system. It is responsible for all communication between like cells and within the body. So the nervous system is composed of neurons, and they are able to constantly, day in, day out, 24 hours, 7 days a week, receive and send signals, and they're able to do this at the same time, so they're able to get a signal and receive one at the exact same millisecond. And there are two main parts of neurons. There's the dendrites, and depending on the type of neuron, which we're going over in the next slide, you can have multiple dendrites. And then there's axon, and there's only one axon per neuron. Okay, so there's three main types of neurons. There's the multipolar. So it has, like, you can have three or more of the dendrites, and they're a motor neuron, so they're able to receive information from the central nervous system, and send it to these muscles and glands to react. And then there's the bipolar. It is an interneuron. It has like one dendrite, one axon, and it's kind of the middleman between the sensory neurons and the motor neurons. And then finally, the unipolar neurons. That's mostly what we're going to be talking about today. They only have one dendrite, but it's split into this T-shape. And it takes sensory information and sends it to the central nervous system. Okay, so neurotransmitters, they are chemical signals between neurons, and they're mostly considered to be like kind of short-term, like short communication. They go between the synapses in the neuron. There's a diagram coming up. And depending on the neurotransmitter, it is able to inhibit or excite the signal or the neurons. And so some common examples of neurotransmitters are serotonin, dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, very common things that most people have at least heard of. And neurotransmitters can also affect hormone levels, since they are actively involved in kind of the way hormones kind of function in the body. And then most hormones are important for functions such as reproduction, metabolism, growth, respiration, like many things. Okay. So an example of kind of how neurotransmitters signal. This is an example of a serotonin receptor. So it's the axon part of the neuron that does receives the signal. And so there's part of an axon that's a receptor. And so it collects the serotonin that is distributed from another axon in a different neuron. And it just goes through the synapse, which is this extracellular space between the neurons. So this very, very small space is where all the neurotransmitters go to another neuron. Okay, so female mating preference. This is a behavior of many types of animal species, and basically it's defined as like the variation of like females picking mates depending on whether or not they have a specific trait. So if an animal has, like a female has a preference for the fish to be like as brightly red as it can, the male that is the brightest red of the red is going to have a higher chance of mating with the females. And some examples include like male birds when they're dancing, or they sing, or they display these like bright colors. There's three main methods of measurement when people are trying to study like how females choose mates. There's a population level preference test, and so that's just kind of comparing how like one population of females decides like what kind of traits they like in their male compared to another population. There's two stimulus tests. So there's a group of female animals, and they're presented with two different males. So if they're trying to test the which one the females would rather mate with. And then there's simultaneous stimulus presentations, which they basically just kind of throw everything together and then see which ends up being the most like successful. Unfortunately, none of these methods are very quantitative. So even though female preference is something that's kind of been bigger in the past couple years, they haven't found a very good way to really measure it and quantify it, since most of female preference is like variation on a spectrum. It's not just it's either this or it's either this. It's just kind of goes through a certain spectrum. Okay. Another important part of female preference are male visual signals during courtship. And so these visual signals are usually, how colorful they are, like these dancing. And males can differ in behavior, size, ornament size, and coloration during courtship. And sometimes males even change any of these just during courtship. So when they're not in the mating season, they'll have like different traits. And then the females vary in preference to the traits that the males have kind of evolved over the years to try to become more successful in reproduction. Some males, their genetics have evolved to the point where the traits are so extreme that their survival against predators has actually, their chances have decreased. So if a female does want to, has a preference for a male that's extremely brightly colored, while the reproductive success may increase, predators can often see these brightly colored animals much easier, and so it's easier for them to hunt. Okay, and a behavior that is very important with female preference is called lekking. Basically, this is a group of males kind of congregate and they fight. And it's mostly they gather in a circle and they display aggression, or they dance, or they do something, and there's females around the circle who basically kind of watch the males display aggression or do their dancing for courtship, and they pick which male they want to mate with. This is typically found in certain bird species, guppies, frogs, and even some insect species have done this. So it's more of an advanced behavior for animal reproduction, and there's 4 basic characteristics that all animal species share when they are found doing this lekking. So basically, females who are involved in lekking, they are the only ones who are involved in the care of the young. So they kind of pick the male, they mate with the male, and then the male, goes off, probably is involved in more lekking to try to mate again, but then the female doesn't stay with them. Okay, so here's a quick example of just kind of how lekking works. So there's the males that congregate in the center, and then the females are around the circle. And there are some papers there was one paper that called this kind of a supermarket for the females, because the females literally watch the males kind of show off and fight, and the female literally just goes, I want to mate with that one, and that's how lekking works. So variance in female preference can be affected internally by the chemistry of the neurotransmitters, hormonal influences, which also tie back to neurotransmitters, and genetics. Okay, so the hormonal effects. Hormones that are used for reproduction are controlled by the central nervous system, so they are dependent on neurotransmitters being able to send a signal. If a neurotransmitter can often, the signal is sent and the neurotransmitter can go to the target organ and release a hormone, and that hormone can release another hormone, or it can immediately affect the reproduction. Some examples both hormones that ultimately affect the animal's behavior. So glutamate is a neurotransmitter, and then GnRH is a hormone. So the release of glutamate affects GnRH release, which then goes to play into the release of another hormone, LH, which is responsible for gametes to be maturely produced to enable like successful reproduction. And then CRF affects stress response. So if the stress response is so high, the animals will mate, which I'm going to talk more about in this next slide. Okay. So this is the CRH is involved in this HPA axis, which is the stress response of the animal. So CRH is a neurotransmitter, is also a name of a hormone. And if it affects the release of cortisol, so if the cortisol level is too high and the stress is too much on the animal, then the animals won't mate. So in times of like mating and reproduction, if the animals are in like immediate danger from predation, the cortisol level will be increased, and ultimately if it's between survival and reproduction, the animal's going to go towards survival. Since it's not very effective for them to reproduce and then be killed immediately, doesn't do a whole lot for reproduction. Okay, so then the summary. Neurotransmitters work by signaling neurons in the nervous system, and they can have an effect on the hormonal system, which can also affect the reproductive success and processes. Define female preference, it's used during courtship. It's basically females picking the mates that they find most beneficial or most attractive, the best genes for their offspring. And it's very hard to gather empirical data on. They're still trying to develop some new experiments to kind of figure out how to best get hard quantitative data. And then